What is up, real estate rehab? So this is going to be sort of a spin-off of my main sort of overall progress videos to sort of talk you through not necessarily a how to do this because I am not any professional in any type of way to be able to tell you how to do this correctly. Um, but I want to do sort of a spin-off of that and do a video series of sort of how I did it. So not necessarily a how to, just how I did it. And I'm going to start that series off with this that you're looking in front of me. In case you're not following the main videos, we are renovating our master bedroom. And one of the biggest things that I wanted to do was replace these main floor beams right here with LVLs. And currently, the issue that I have with this floor beam is it's got breaks right here, and there's no others down to my left. But basically, that means I have to have support beams or columns in the basement, and it sort of gets in my way with parking the tractors down there, or if I want to put a car down there. So I want to span this whole distance with an LVL, and it comes out to about 14 and a half feet. I think about 14 and a half. So these are 2x10, probably Southern Pine or yellow, whatever they built back then. I don't know. Again, I'm not an expert. But I sized the same size LVL. I'm going to triple them right here, and then my other beam running a little further down there, I'm going to sister them. Um, I've gone through all the load calculations, gone through the tables that they have for joist span and overall LVL span, and it meets all the spec for deflection and everything. But on this side of the room is going to be our bathroom, and I'm going to go overkill on this LVL by tripling it, which far exceeds the requirements that we need. And I'm also going to sister all the floor joists. And the reason being is because we're doing tile floor, and I want as little deflection as possible underneath the tiles from the floor system. And I know it's going to be a lot more weight too. So I'm just going to overkill it, sister all the floor joists, add an extra LVL, and just be done with the whole deal. But basically, I want this to sort of talk you all through. It's going to be a little wordier than my normal time lapses, but basically, I'm going to come in and out with time lapses here, sort of talk you through with what I'm doing or what's going through my mind as an engineer, how I see this. First thing I want to do is these floor joists on either side. I'm going to go down to the basement, and I'm just going to support them from underneath. They're not carrying any weight whatsoever because obviously this is an empty room, besides possibly me walking on it. So before I cut them off the beam and cut this beam out of here, I want to support them from down below just somewhat. Again, I don't care if they stay level. I don't care. I'm going to level them to the LVLs. But I'm going to go ahead and run dimensional lumber underneath them and then a couple columns down to the floor just to support them on either side. So I'm going to go ahead and knock that out, and then we will start cutting the floor joist out so they're nailed in. I'm going to cut down with a Sawzall and a metal blade, separate them all from the beams, and then as I'm doing that, I'm going to try and figure out how I'm going to remove this beam efficiently. So let's go ahead and start supporting and start cutting, and then come back. All right. All right, guys, we got the floor joist all cut away from the beam. We got supports underneath the floor joist. Again, they're not crazy supports. They're just enough to support, to hold them up. No weight or anything. But all the joists are cut apart here. And this is where we're going to end. So if you look at this, this is a sister joist. There's another one under here. And this is sort of where we're going to butt seam our beams right there. So I think what I'm going to do is I got 12-inch Sawzall blades that I think I can just split through the middle here, across here. I'm going to do that last though. I think first I'm going to cut this beam out in pieces, mostly because there's wires. I've got electrical going under there, and I don't really want to have to deal with disconnecting my lights down the basement because I do need them for this. So I'm going to cut it out in pieces to avoid having to tear those out, and then just sort of take it down through the bottom. There's some more wires right there. And then down here, there's a brick. I don't know how well you can see it in the video, but there's a brick column right here that the beam is going to sit on. And if I cut the beam right in there, as close as I can get, there'll be plenty of room for my new LVL beam to sit on that column, and keep these, whatever you would call those, the headers, or I don't know what you'd call them, but to keep those all connected. I don't, and not touch those because my wall is sitting on top of those and the end of this beam. But that's what we're going to do next, to get this removed. And then from there, I'm going to cut this side down another 1.75 inches on the floor joist to fit the third LVL, because this is about 3.5 inches right here. And that's 2 LVLs width, but I'm doing 3, so I need another 1.75 inches. So I'm going to cut 1.75 inches from all these going down so that I can fit my LVLs in there. But that's sort of going to be my plan for the next part of this video. And that's what's going through my head right now. And then, for down supporting down here, I'm going to get one of my temporary lolly poles and put it underneath where all of this is going to tee and come together. I think ultimately I'm going to get a permanent lolly pole, but I want to make sure my footer down there, the concrete floor, is thick enough to support the weight. And so right now we're just doing a temporary, and I might do 2. I might do one on this side of the beam, one on the other. I haven't decided yet. But that's going to support it over here while the brick column supports it over there. So that is the plan for the next part of this video. So let's do it. All right, guys, we got one of the LVLs in. The plan went according to plan, which is good. So I had a little trouble getting it in on this side. It was just a touch too long. So I probably would have either A, shortened it a little, or since it was cockeyed going in, it was tilted like this. The top corner of this, I would have put a bevel on it so that the board would have fit more against the wall and the other end would have fell in. Those are the 2 things I was thinking I could have done differently there. But I got it in. It looks good. Now I'm just going to get the next one cut, and I'll figure out my plan for that. I might just cut it a little shorter. There's plenty of room for it to sit on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to get that cut. The third one I'm going to have to figure out. That's going to be a little hairy because it's going to be a little shorter, but it should go in easier. And then I am going to start to sister these joists over here. And I want to do that first, I think, before I nail the LVL all together. Or I'll nail it and I'll finish the sistering of the three. I haven't decided yet. But those are the next two steps. And then I've got joist hangers for all these. So basically, I'm sure you guys have seen videos. I'm going to screw a board to the top of this joist so it sets on top of the LVL so that our top is level. And then I'll put the joist hanger on. And my joist hangers are for 2x10s, so I'm gonna just cut them down because I already had them. But I think that is what I'm going to do in the next part of this video. These are all cut and spaced for 3 LVLs. And how I verified is the scraps from cutting this. This was a 16 foot, cut it down to 165. I took the scraps and nailed them together. So this is essentially the thickness of my beam, what it's going to be. And then I just placed it down in all these gaps and made sure that they were all wide enough for 3 LVLs. So we're getting there. It actually, for never doing this before, it went a lot smoother than I thought it would have. So yeah, don't be scared to do this. But again, I do have it all open from the top. I assume it'd probably be harder doing it off from the bottom, but I don't see it being that much more difficult besides being on your back. So that's what I'm going to do in the next portion of this video. I just wanted to stop in and say what I would have done differently, but it's going well. So let's get to it. All right, real estate rehab. We got all of our floor joists sistered up. They're not attached yet and they're not hung on the beam yet, but I'm down in the basement before I go back up into the room to do that. And I was going to show you guys sort of what we're looking at down here. So let me flip the camera here and show you guys sort of what I'm doing. So as you can see, there's the room up there. This is our LVL right here. And on the right, you'll see all of my depth perception is way off. These are all of our old beams, or floor joists, I'm sorry. Floor joist, old one. And then you can see the new lumber on this side, new. And now they're, I don't know if you see them, they're just sitting there. Again, I haven't connected them down there yet, except this one, you can see I've just connected it to the LVL because the LVL is still gonna move a little. This one closest to us is on its own separate column right here. You can see it's on its own separate one. It's a little higher than the others. So I just want to drop that down a little. Here's one of my lolly poles, just temporarily holding up this side. Not necessary, but that's what I'm doing. You can see that one's got a joist hanger. That one's got a joist hanger. But again, it's just nailed into the LVL. It doesn't have the diagonal nails going through it. So basically all I did, I had to take out this wall right here. There was a wall here in the basement. It was unnecessary. There's part of it. And then you can see, I'm not quite sure what that is called, but it's sort of like a ledger that this end hangs on. So I just butted them up on top of there, all the way down. And I'm going to hang them off the LVL first. I got a lot of cleanup stuff. Like this water line is my new water line that I haven't hooked in yet. It's just draping there. So don't mind that. We're still using the copper lines. And whoever did this plumbing had notched this joist. We were already at the limit of the span for a 2x8 floor joist. And you cannot do this right here. Like you can put there was a spot, you can put a hole through it, like a certain diameter and a certain distance from the edge of the floor joist, but you cannot notch the ends of it. So again, that's another good reason I'm sistering it, I guess. It wasn't really necessary for me to do it for what, if it hadn't been notched there, but we're doing it anyway. So one other thing I never pointed out is you'll see I have an arrow here. So these boards, they have a crown to them. Every board you get at the lumber yard will have a crown to it, and you want the crown up on the load bearing side. So I assume logically when you put load on it, it'll straighten the crown and become a straight flat floor. But you always want the crown pointed up. So you see all my arrows here sort of telling me when I get it down here where the crown is. So when I install it, I install it the correct way up. But I just want to show you what we're looking at down here. I'm going to go ahead and hang the rest of them. That beam is fully supported. It's not all attached to itself yet. Again, I'm going to go back and nail everything back together when I sister everything officially. But I wanted to show it from the underside here before I jump back up to the GoPro video up top. So let's get to it. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap this video up. Sort of ran into a bunch of truck problems with both my trucks, so I haven't posted a video in a little bit and haven't been able to record much more of this, how I did it. But as you can see, I'm starting to put the subfloor back in. So I have my triple LVL all installed here. All these are nailed in. These are sistered together properly with the spacing, with the proper nails. These are all hung. These are all sistered except for this one, I think. Oh, and this one. You can see the gap. But the subfloor is ready to go back on. These are all hung. That's my second column beam. I'm sorry. That's my second beam that I replaced, so that's all complete. And those are the only two beams that I was replacing in this room. So basically, again, this was just sort of how I did it. Not necessarily a how-to or 100% the professional way to do it. I'm not sure. In my mind, it is a correct way to do it, but there's 7 different ways to skin a cat. So anyway, wrapping up. Going to put some subfloor down. We're getting into the winter months, so it's time to stop letting all my heat go out the floor into the basement. But hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe for more, or go to the main videos to keep up with our progress for renovating this room. And hopefully I will get to do some more. I have to determine which how I did it video is going to be next. But until next time, I'm going to go ahead and get this done. So we will see you guys.